ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगणललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. We'll continue ninth chapter. Ninth chapter is titled the most confidential knowledge because Krishna will reveal the highest philosophical principles, the, the process of liberation, etc., which is primarily surrounding bhakti. We covered up to 8th verse. So the first section, 9, 1 to 3, is hearing about Krishna qualifications and disqualifications. Who can hear? A person who is non-envious of me. Me is referring to God. I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and relation, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. One who thoroughly understands the wisdom given in this chapter, he will be relieved of the miseries of material existence because he will have ultimate understanding of life, who he is, what is his relationship with God, what is the process to mitigate the miseries of this existence. All of that will be revealed. And he praises this knowledge as the king of education, the most secret of all secrets, purest knowledge because it gives direct perception by self-realization. Self by realization. It is the perfection of religion, everlasting and joyfully performed. Bhakti, these are all characteristics of bhakti. Okay? It is perfection of religion, meaning it fulfills the full purpose of existence of religion. Religion is what? Um, Religion is more or less like theory. Yoga is the practice of it. And religion teaches the philosophy. Yoga makes you live by the principles that are given in religion. So, perfection of religion means one gets the highest benefit by practicing this path. It is everlasting and is joyfully performed. Bhakti is unique in the sense compared to any other yogas. It is very joyfully performed. You don't need to do anything. You eat, before you eat, you just offer to God. You chant, you sing glories of God, you dance for God. You don't miss anything. You do everything for the satisfaction of God. And in performing that, you actually feel joy because you are doing for the beloved, right? Whatever you do for your beloved, you feel joy. So naturally, it's a joyfully performed. Any questions anytime, please ask me. I'm just quickly summarizing what we discussed last week. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me. O conqueror of enemies, therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. If you don't have faith, basically, you will continue to exist in the samsara. Yeah. And then he talks about how Lord pervades everything. By me, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyaktamurtina mastani sarva bhutani natahite swavastita. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. This is talking about the Brahman manifestation of the Supreme Lord. Brahman is basically energy emitted from the Supreme Lord. Brahma Jyoti is the light emanating from the Supreme Lord, and that pervades the entire universe. Just like sun is fixed in one place, but his light energy is spread all over the existence, right? So similarly, and in fact, sun's light is a reflection of Brahma Jyoti, is what the scriptures say. So the God's energy, right, that is spread all over the world, that's called Brahman. And so that is unmanifested form. You can call, some people regard, sunlight is non-different from sun. So the Brahman is considered God because it's emanated from the Supreme Lord. It's pure consciousness. And all beings are in me, means everybody exists within Brahma Jyoti, and I'm not in them because, so in the sense that Brahma Jyoti is where we all exist, but Krishna is the source of Brahma Jyoti, so he exists beyond that. And yet, everything that is created doesn't rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all the living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. Okay? So the above is Brahman. This is talking about Paramatma. Paramatma, just like sun is there, sun's light is spread all over, that is Brahman that we discussed above. Now this is second aspect. If you put 1,000 parts of water, right, in the daylight, sun's form is reflected in every form, right, that exists. So that is Paramatma form of the Lord. Paramatma is the maintainer. He exists in you, and he exists in me, in everybody he exists. So I am the maintainer. Maintainer is Paramatma, maintainer of all living entities. And although I am everywhere, means he is there everywhere as Paramatma, I am not part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation, right? Because he is the source of creation. He, as Bhagavan, is separate from his manifestation as Brahman, the one before, and Paramatma also, right? Like sun, the root sun, the source sun, is different from the reflection that is reflected in the water pot, right? So he exists there, he exists everywhere, but still he exists separately also, right? So that is what this means.
Prabhuji, I did not understand that bit, and you probably explained this last time around. I'm sorry, I am not recollecting. But basically, we said, right, that Lord exists in all of us in the form of like Kshirodaksai Vishnu.
Correct.
So I was confused by this, like where he says, I am not in everyone. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So this needs guidance to understand. What he means is he is simultaneously there and not there. Just like you can say, if suppose I used to work for Microsoft for a long time. We can say every building is the energy of Bill Gates, right? Is the source of it, right? In a way, you can say he exists there because his energy exists there. In other words, also you can say actually he doesn't exist. Um, he created and he exists separately also. So this is to say, some people have this understanding, God uh, diluted into the form of creation, means God does not exist separately. You see the point? So many people have this understanding, this nature, this existence, this whole thing that exists that we see, that is God. and there is nothing beyond this as God, right? What you
Yeah.
see, what you perceive, that is God. So what Krishna is clarifying here is, no, I am there in everything, but I am also separate from everything. See, it's a very good question you asked. So I am the maintainer of all living entities. How every living entity is maintained? Because of the existence of Paramatma within the heart, right? Otherwise, he cannot get anything. He is the Upadrishta, Anumanta, cha, Bhakta, Bhokta, Maheshwara. Right? We read in previous chapters. Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwara. He is the Supreme Lord. He is the seed-giving Father, um, and he is the maintainer. He is there. He is there as Kshirodak Sai Vishnu in every jiva. But he that form of the Lord, Kshirodak Sai Vishnu, which is sourced from Garbhodak Sai Vishnu, which is sourced from Mahavishnu, all these are all various forms that were taken by the Supreme Lord for the continuation of material existence, to fulfill the desires of conditioned souls. But the source, the Supreme Lord, exists separately from all of these manifestations, right? So this is
So basically, he's saying that I'm not like part of I'm not the material creation. Like I'm not material, but
correct. So
okay.
everything comes, all the material as well as spiritual energies come from me, but I originally as a source also different from all of this. I
Yeah.
exist beyond all of this as well. That's what Lord Krishna's point is here. Um, I am not part of this cosmic manifestation for myself because he's the source. From him comes all the gunavataras, right? The
Mm.
the three forms of Vishnu, and from them comes. So all of this actually emanations of Supreme Lord, and he is the source of all of this. So you can say simultaneously he's there and also not there. It's called achintya bheda bhed, right? Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I'm not part of this cosmic manifestation for myself is the very source of creation. So many people think the problem is many people think God got diluted into existence. Kind of so many such theories are there. So he's trying to clarify. Yes, I am the source of creation. I am the maintainer of everybody in the form of Paramatma, but I am not the only. I am beyond and more.
Mm.
Do not think that Paramatma is everything. Yes, Paramatma exists in you. Paramatma is the maintainer. Paramatma is the form of Vishnu, but that is a partial manifestation of the Supreme Lord. The original source exists separate from all of this. Is that clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Anybody else? Very good question, Madhus. I think those are the kind of questions I want everybody to have clarity on. Because superficial understanding of God, we are far from that. Actually, with all that we studied so far, we have moved far ahead in our understanding of God. Of course, realization comes much later. Theoretically, we understand, right? Slowly, as you practice chanting, you will have a lot of conviction on the principles that we are learning here. Uh, as you chant, as you purify the heart, you crystal clearly see all of this is very much a truth. But right now, at least theoretically, I want everybody to understand, right? Understand that as mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. Yeah, everything exists within the Supreme Lord. It's like, the gigantic cosmic manifestation is the body of the Supreme Lord, and everything rests within him. Basically, there is nothing that is beyond his purview. That's what it means. Sarvabhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti maimikam kalpakshaye punastani pado vishrajamya. O son of Kunti, at the end of millennium, all material manifestation enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. Okay, so which form of Vishnu is this? Is it Kshirodaksai, Garbhodaksai, or Mahavishnu?
Is it Garbhodaksai Vishnu? He creates.
Read this line. Tells.
Probably Mahavishnu, right, Prabhuji?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Very good. Mahavishnu is the source of Garbhodaksai Vishnu. Mahavishnu, from whose body several millions of universes come out. Billions of universes come out. And into each universe, Lord enters again as Garbhodaksai Vishnu. And from his navel comes the lotus on which Brahma is born, Swayambhu Brahma. From there, the creation, secondary creation begins by Brahma. And the actual jivas are placed in the material existence, and into each of the jiva again Lord enters as Kshirodaksa Vishnu. So it is the Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu's one breath is when this entire manifestation happens. It is this many years, 3 years. And
So Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, just a quick question here. So this just shows, I think in that Virat Roop, they show like in the movies or TV and all that, right? Like when you see that, it shows that everything, the cycle itself happens there. But in our, like some of our, like, books and scriptures, like we believe like killing everything or destruction is like Lord Shiva, but in this it's clarifying that everything still comes from Lord Vishnu and goes back to Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu.
oh yeah, oh no, Shiva's role is there. Shiva is the the all of these, they coexist and co-work. Durga's role is there in destruction, Shiva's role is there. It's like, for example, if you are constructing a building, right? There will be, like, you can say, the original building owner, he's the original source of everything, you can say. But there are contractors, architects, there are, everybody has their role. When it is mentioned that Lord Shiva's role is there in, he is like the chief commander for that purpose, right? He exists there. His role is there. Durga's role is there. So the scriptures are not contradictory. They're not saying, hey, why, we keep hearing, some talk about, Lord Shiva as the primary role for this. And, we also hear Lord Vishnu doing this. Yeah, it's all at the will of Lord Vishnu, but, in the execution, there is the role of Lord Shiva and Mother Durga. All of these coexist. Yeah. So
makes sense,
it's not exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
As you read more and more details, you'll understand actually in Bhagavatam, it talks about how exactly Lord Shiva does the destruction part, right? In fact, he's also plays key role in creation, Lord Shiva, right? Maheshwar, Mahi, he's the Ishvara of Mahi means, material existence actually. He's the Ishvara. And the linga principle is, the linga is actually a male organ, right? So that's what he represents, because he's the source of creation. So everybody's role is there. The details are where they actually differ, exactly what they do. And the principles given are, very difficult to comprehend. Like, I was reading Brahma Samhita the other day. It's pretty complicated to get our heads around. Yeah, so this we read. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end. Right? This very clearly shows, with an atom bomb, we cannot destroy the world. everything happens according to the will of the Lord, right? And it won't. The world will continue to exist, until the cycle of the Chatur Yugas. Kali Yuga started only 5,000 years back. It has still like 4,34,000 years still. So there is a much longer period awaiting. So
Prabhuji, one quick question. Is this the very first Kali Yuga, or have there been
oh,
other Kali Yugas?
so many Kali Yugas. So
Okay.
within the day of Brahma, there are 13 Manus, and within each Manu's period, there are 70 cycles of Chaturyugas. Okay,
Mm.
and right now, to, and that is one day of Brahma we're talking about. One day of Brahma has 13 Manus, and within each Manu there are 70 cycles Chaturyuga. Treta, Dwapara, Satya, and Kali, right? 4 yugas. So 70 such cycles. And right now, out of the 13 Manvantras, right now, we were informed in the scriptures that right now it is noon time for Brahmaji in the current day. And our Brahma is about 50 years old right now, according to his time scale of 100 years. It spans much longer than what we can imagine. It's about 4 trillion, 480 billion years or something like that in human years. So, yeah, this Kali Yuga, every Kali Yuga, same technologies come. It's not like this artificial intelligence, this aeroplanes, this is all new. It's all there. It's mechanistic here. Okay, in the previous ages, it's more subtle, like Ravana's Pushpak Viman is much subtler than the technologies that we use here, right, in Kali Yuga. But this computer technology, all of these are not new at all. These are all cycles. They keep happening. Everything happens in cycles. Okay? Everything
Okay.
happens in cycles. In fact, through astrology, we can predict what things happen very well. There is a predictions about future. Like I was reading some very great astrologer, and he predicted this calamities of COVID in 2016. I have read his Facebook article about it. He's a Telugu person. He predicted so well. There is a much calamity coming in this time. In 2019, towards the end, 2020 will be a tough time, and in fact, this entire decade is going to be very tough. And unfortunately, towards the end of this decade, it's mentioned that there's going to be a world war. It's going to be so bad, and the whole history, which happened in the Second World War, is crunched into a short period in 10 years. That happened, the Cold War. What is that? Cold War, right? Cold War between superpowers that started after First World War in 1919, right? From 1919 to 1945, whatever happened in 26 years, that whole thing is going to shorten in this year. And same history repeats because people's behaviors and all of these are very similar. He was comparing Mussolini and Hitler to what our Chinese president and Vladimir Putin. These are the two guys who will be causing this third war. That's what he's saying. And he's very accurate. By the way, I looked at his past predictions. Everything was, not 100% accurate, but close to 80 to 90%. So the world is, very predictable actually. And in fact, even the World War II was also predicted, it seems, because if you look at the planetary combinations of what were existing at the time of Mahabharata, they were very much manifested in 1945. And same thing is manifesting in again 2030, 29, 2029, 30. So everything is, now I realize like everything is a cycle. Just like day and night is a cycle. Our lifetime is a cycle. Good, bad things. Even our lifetime has times of good, times of bad. Everything rotates. Universe gives equal opportunities to people, and the people who are rich in the past, they are not going to be rich in the future generations. Every time, every generation brings new people to the limelight, like Elon Musk, or these are all new people who are leading the world now. Where are the Rockefeller and Ford? Where are they gone? That decade is for them. So it's very very dynamic, and universe is very uh, like open to giving opportunities to everybody time and again, and behaviors of people repeat. um, yeah, it's pretty cyclic.
Prabhuji, so in each Kali Yugas, so will exactly the same type of events which have occurred will occur again and again. For example, the COVID thing, and so events like that. So does that mean that the
Yeah.
same events and the same persons will be
No, not the same
repeated?
persons, but the whole COVID thing, he says it's a process of nature's way of cleansing the environment. Okay, we may think, oh, why is such a bad things are happening? No, actually, it is just a nature's order to clean up a little bit, right? We see how people realized how limited they are in those periods. Correct. Um, I can share that video. It's very fantastic. In fact, he predicts that just like uh, we are distracting from the class, but he predicts that just like in 19, British was so powerful during early 1900s up to 1940s. It's the superpower, just like how America is the superpower today. Correct. He says the whole thing is just again repeating the cycle, and again the universe gives, as I said, equal opportunities to everybody. He predicts that the next great, the powerful country going to be India. Many people are now expecting China to be that, but unfortunately, he says, China will disintegrate, just like Russia, no, not Russia. Russia did, right, in the past. Yeah. So when he has his theory, a lot of people are predicting China is going to be the next big country, but he says there is going to be much more dharmic uh, economics will come, and Narendra Modi will continue to rule for another term. He predicted, by the Narendra Modi predicted pretty well, and he's predicting who is going to be the next prime minister after Narendra Modi. How India would strengthen its power slowly, and everybody slowly recognizes this land, India. This is the dharmic land, and this is the way to follow. Lead our life. And it seems India will become the next superpower from 2035 onwards, he says, especially from 2035 onwards. Just like how British, which was so powerful, where sun doesn't set. That's what British empire was. Just like how British slowly disintegrated into powerless nation, United States will go through the same phase from 1930, he says, and India would emerge as the superpower. It was
Would you
fascinating.
please share the video so that we can also watch? It makes sense, Prabhuji. I mean, all of us, like how much damage and destruction we do to this world to sustain that, right? Like sustain all of us living in this earth. It makes sense that things like the pandemic bring us back home and we stay at home and we clean the whole environment. No more cars on the road, emissions. Everything is clean, water is clean.
Yeah, I was fascinated by his predictions. I came across recently. Yeah, he was a good source. Like, I verified, like, he was doing pretty good job in terms of his past predictions as well.
Mhm.
Is this the same person, Prabhuji, who predicted that you said about the Third World War, that it would be like it wouldn't be a full-fledged Third World War, but it would be like led by Yogi Adityanath, and it would be the rise of, like, Sanatan Dharma is already rising. That it would be like people will realize the value of Sanatan Dharma,
Correct.
and
He's the one. Yeah. Correct.
yeah, he's the one, because he also, and another thing you mentioned about the Britishers, the sun never set in their when they were ruling, right? The British Raj was such, but the British Raj was this Raj because they looted people, they destroyed people, the atrocities they did against Indians. Like, you can't even talk about that.
Mhm.
We are talking about Kashmir files, but uh, it was of similar level that the Britishers did to India for so many years. But this rise of Sanatan Dharma is not based on destruction. It is based on awareness. Awareness.
Correct. So yeah, so he, so I'll share this. Okay, let's not. This is doing too much. Okay, I'll share this separately. Yeah, he did. He's a very accomplished astrologer. It was interesting to go through that. Maybe we should all consider moving back to India.
Makes sense, Prabhuji. I'm going to share that video with my husband. I've been trying to convince him to move back.
So Prabhuji, so in the next cycle, again, will the same avatars of the god, like the Ram avatara, Krishna avatara, like that, will the same thing happen again and again?
Yes.
Will there be any changes at least?
There will be changes. There will be. It's not going to be exact same story. Every cycle has variations of the story, but everything happens because people need the same principles. People's mentalities are same. Its behavioral patterns are repeatable, right? People go through the same problems. People go, and there are cycles within cycles, right? Like this World War, this pandemic, actually happened in 1920. It's called what is that? Flu.
Spanish flu.
Spanish flu. Yeah. Similar conditions are happening. You see. So he says, whatever happened from Spanish flu until World War II, that is all crunched into 10-year period. That's all. It's this decade is a troubled decade. So be prepared, is what he says. Just get through it with Nachamam tani karmani
Nani karmani
padmanti dhananjaya
nibadhanti dhananjaya
udasinam
udashinavadasinam
ashaktam tenu karmasho.
ashaktam karmasu.
Yeah, please read. Anyone?
O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral.
Generally, work binds conditioned souls in this world, correct? Because of ignorance, whatever actions performed, they will have reactions on the jiva. And that's what becomes the karmic bondage. But when Lord comes to this world and he performs any actions, or in fact, this whole process of creation that he does, it doesn't bind him because he's the very source of it. And I am ever detached from all these marital activities, seated as though neutral. I'm ever detached. He's not attached to any of this. He's the neutral personality. He's like that also as Paramatma within the heart. He's always neutral. Mayadhyakshena prakriti
Maya dakshayena prakriti
suyate sacharacharam
suyate
Suyate
sacharacharam
sacharacharam
hetunanena kaunteya
hetunanena kaunteya
jagat viparivartate.
jagat viparivartate.
Parivartate.
Very famous verbs. Mayadhyakshena prakriti
Maya dakshayena prakriti
suyate sacharacharam
suyate
Suyate
sacharacharam
sacharacharam
hetunanena kaunteya
hetunanena
Nena
kaunteya
kaunteya
jagat viparivartate.
jagat
parivartate.
viparivartate.
Yeah. Please read.
This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again.
This material nature, this entire material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. Maya adhyakshena prakriti. Maya adhyakshena means me. Adhyakshena means my superintendence, by my superintendence. Prakriti, this material nature. Material nature is not God. Material nature is working under the superintendence of God. You see? You can, anybody who says, hey, this nature is God. This is the answer for it. Maya adhyakshena prakriti. Suyate sa characharam. And in this manifested material nature, there are both moving and non-moving. There are trees, there are living entities, there are rocks, lifeless entities. So all these things manifest. Hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. Viparivartate means this whole cosmic manifestation is working under my order. So everything is under Lord's control. If you want to control anything, again, you have to go back to God's will. You can only control anything with the acceptance of God's, God allowing you to do that. You cannot control anything otherwise. Right? By the way, before I forget, tomorrow we have His Grace Radhesham Prabhu giving a class on Mother Kunti's prayers. Please do attend. It is going to be very, inspiring class for everybody. I'll be joining as well. We are right now in that topic, and I have requested in Bhagavatam. Some of you were attending, some of you stopped attending Bhagavatam class. I highly recommend you. Bhagavatam is like a mango. You touch anywhere, it is sweet. So I highly recommend you to join tomorrow's class. It's at 3 p.m., not 2:30, the regular time we have. It's at 3 p.m. Try to attend at least 1 hour only. It's not going to be long. Prabhu has arranged. So these are special classes. We arrange with a lot of effort to take advantage. We feel satisfied. So Supreme Lord is the supreme will and the background of this material manifestation, but the management is conducted by the material nature. Krishna is also states in Bhagavad Gita that all of the living entities in different forms and species, I am the Father. The Father gives seeds to the womb of the mother for the child. Similarly, Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of material nature, and they come out in their different forms and species according to their last desires and activities. Very clear. So Lord is the father. Material nature is like mother, right? She gave birth to all of us. So she is like the mother of us. 1 second. Sorry. Yeah. Material nature is again manifested energy of the Lord, but it acts like the mother giving birth to various living entities. And what is the purpose? To fulfill their desires and activities, perform activities and fulfill the desires. This is another famous verse. Avajananti mam
Avajananti mam
Avajananti mamudha
shintanu
manushentanamashritam
param bhavam ajananto
param bhavam ajananto
paramabhavajalanto
Maheshwaram.
Maheshwaram
Avajananti mam mudha
Avajananti
Avajananti
mamudha
mamudha
manushim tanumashritam
manushentanamashritam
param bhavam ajananto
param bhavam ajananto
paramabhavajalanto
bhuta maheshwaram.
mamabhuta
Maheshwaram
Avajananti mam mudha. Avajananti means people deride me. Who? Mudas means foolish men. Because Lord comes to this world like anybody else. He looks like a human being with 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, with a face, legs, everything. So, Avajananti mam muda. Fools deride me thinking that, I am like one, like Duryodhana. He thought Lord Krishna, maybe he's some powerful demigod, some powerful person. He didn't think that, he's the Supreme Lord. Even today, many people cannot accept how Krishna can be the Supreme Lord. Many people think Krishna is there, he is historically great, and all these stories are created later on to just add a divinity to him. You call it. I read so many such misinterpretations, but Acharyas never say that. All the humanistic people who try to bring God to their level, because they cannot do anything. They only, their experience is limited to what they as a human do. They bring God to their level. So Krishna is talking about them. Can anybody read the translation?
Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be.
Param bhavam ajananto. Ajananto means they don't know. Right? Param bhavam. I am transcendental. I'm not like everybody else, all of you. Param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwara. I am the supreme proprietor of everything. Very, candid. No, who can state like that other than the Lord himself, right? Mama bhuta maheshwaram. I am the supreme head of everything, right? The supreme proprietor. We cannot understand. For example, an ant cannot understand this building. If I drop an ant here, it cannot, it has its own limitations on what it can understand about the building. I can understand better than an ant. So similarly, just because we cannot understand God doesn't mean God is like us. Your understanding is like who you are, but doesn't mean God has to be like like you understand. So that's where, out of pride, many people, it's also a kind of pride, because they cannot accept the superior truth. It's a kind of their pride diminishes their understanding. But clearly Krishna says here, you see, fools deride me. He's just treating them as fools. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. He comes in the human form. It's a reality. It's the fact. He came. He descended to this world 5,000 years back. That's a fact. When he comes, the fools laugh at him. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. Who can be more assertive than this? Right? Maheshwara, again Maha Ishwaram, again he's the supreme proprietor. We also call Lord Shiva as the Maheshwara, but again he's the Guna avatar of the Supreme Lord. There are many Ishwaras, controllers, and one appears greater than the other. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him is the minister, and above him is the president. Each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, but both in the material and the spiritual world. But Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishvara Parama Krishna, and his body is Sachidananda, non-material. Another many beautiful explanations are given here. I will not read. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Saunika inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavan kila karmani saharamena keshava atimatyani bhagavan guda kapatamanushaha. Guda kapata, the Supreme Lord, kapatamanushaha, he covered himself like a manushi, like a human being. But he is not like a human being. He is not a human being. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balarama, played like a human being and so masked, he performed many superhuman acts. He did so many superhuman acts. No human being can perform such acts. The Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands. But after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. See, first he appeared as Vishnu form, and then he transformed again into the baby form. Described in 10th canto, 3rd chapter, 46 verse. Bhabhuva prakrita sishu. He became just like an ordinary child, like an ordinary human being. Now, here again, it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands. Kenaiva rupena chaturbhujena. Arjuna asked to see Krishna's 4-handed form. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manusham Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. No human being can do any of this. Correct? Yeah. Many such wonderful principles. So I'll stop here because we started late. Any questions so far? Are you getting more and more convinced about supremacy of the Supreme Lord, Krishna? With all these verses? These are all so, touching the heart, correct? You can understand who is Krishna truly. We may have so many understandings, bringing up, but now things are becoming so very clear by the words of Krishna himself. Correct?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So, wholeheartedly take shelter of Krishna. There is no nothing more superior to that. You get everything you want, and you get the highest after life, after this life also. So there is nothing superior to worship. This is the perfection of religion. Okay? And I was in the Sankirtan today. There was one Muslim person. He's a student of University of Washington. He was impressed. He was walking by every Saturday, and he would see us. He joined us today and chanted with us. And I talked to him about Bhagavad Gita. I gave him the copy of it, and I was at a glimpse. I was explaining some of the slokas and the principles. He was so touched. He said, "I was just looking for something like this. I have read Quran, and the principles are given, but a lot of details are missing on who is God and how God looks like, and what does He do, and what." So this philosophy is so fascinating. He said, "I'm going to read this book starting tonight." He said, he is so excited because no other religious text, Judaism, or Christianity or Islam, none of these Abrahamic religions have any understanding of God to this depth. And that the and I'm talking about Bhagavad Gita. Forget about Bhagavatam; it is far more deeper principles there. But Bhagavad Gita itself is too fascinating for them. And Upanishads, and they are far ahead. We don't need to read Upanishads. Our life is perfected just by reading Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad. Two books. Perfect. And you will be happy, satisfied. Your life will be perfect. Your children will be perfect. Your family will be perfect. And everybody will benefit from you studying these books. There is nothing better you can do for your own life. Okay. So I will end here. We'll continue from.
Prabhuji, I have a question. So I was reading this Srila Prabhupada book. So there I have they'll be describing about Prabhupada's activities and how he established the temples and who were his previous followers and all. So I have seen that even like many devotees or many followers of Srila Prabhupada, so they'll be serving him to some extent, and then they will fall out of Krishna consciousness. Even they have described that Prabhupada even used to feel very sad for those devotees because they have reached to certain extent, and then again they are overcome by the material desires, and then they will fall apart. So why does it happen like that?
Very good question. So the material nature is extremely powerful. Okay, it's very enticing, and it's very difficult for many people to actually continue for until their lifetime, because because many people have a lot of conditionings from the past, and sometimes they pull us. Like some people have addictions, drug addictions, or whatever maybe. So there is always pull from those conditionings coming back again onto life, right? And if they don't maintain good sadhana, good association, like all of us are meeting, there is a good chance, because while living in the material world, practicing spiritual life is like going against the stream, stream of water. So you need constant association, need constant support. Not just in this path, in any path, it's the same problem. You pick up any yoga or anything. The nature of the world is like that. It's very tempting. Just like you don't clean your room, in like 2 days you will see all the dust accumulated. So it's exactly like that. So material world is very tempting, and there is a good chance if somebody has strong conditioning of the past, those conditionings will keep testing him. And sometimes few people fall down from their standards. They stop attending classes. They stop doing anything spiritual. It happens time and again. If they immediately take help of devotees and express their heart, they'll get help and they get saved. But some people don't do that. And that is the nature of the world. And but Lord doesn't interfere in the free will of the jiva. If just like we are in this world, the reason is we decided to enjoy independent of God, right? Again, when you do the same, Lord doesn't interfere again. Although he's with his open hand, he wanted you to be back. He doesn't stop you when you want to get out of his hand. But he keeps on helping you in various ways to come back to him. But again, it doesn't preclude you from completely choosing. Like if a child wants to cut his hand, right? He can cut it. Whether you, as a mother and father, you can only observe him for so much. You cannot tie him. You cannot stop him. If he is interested, if not today, he will do it tomorrow, right? So material pull is sometimes can be very strong. So that's why always pray to Krishna that you don't fall for Maya illusion. Only Krishna can protect us, right? So always have that faith. Maya is very strong. Maya is very powerful. Even though uh, one is very strong sadhaka, can also sometimes fall. Look at the example of Bharat Maharaj. Correct? I was telling you many times. He was, the whole country was named after him, Bharat. Bharat Maharaj. He's not the brother of Ram. Bharat Maharaj, he was a great king. He ruled the country in a very pious way. Everybody was happy, and at appropriate age, he left the country to do sadhana, right, to perfect his life. He was at that time he was already at a very high stage of devotion service. He's already in bhava bhakti, meaning whenever he chants the name of Lord, he gets tears in his eyes, right? It's a very advanced stage of bhakti. Even then, he was attracted to the deer and he fell down. There are many reasons, why that happened was explained. He does not have any association. That's one thing. And he was too much focused on the deer, protection and well-being of the deer, right? So that is a tendency of the past. Because he was a king in the past, he had the tendency to care for his citizens like a father. So he felt that this deer is taking my shelter, and so I need to protect it. And like a king, he started caring for it, and to such an extent that he forgets um, his own devotional service. Right? He minimizes his own devotional service. So in that way, he slowly uh, comes down in his devotional practices. That's how it is.
I was thinking like the devotees, they were doing a lot of service to Prabhupada in establishing the temples, and they were always chanting and distributing the books, right? So simultaneously they were getting purified. So is there a possibility of falling apart in that stage also? I was little wondered. So
Yeah, at any stage, yes, there is a good chance of, because it's a choice that Jiva makes. The people's choice. Even though um, strong sadhana, these will, if you read through the stories of each of those, the specifics, you'll understand how actually that happened. There is a story for everything. They must have, another important thing is to not commit offenses while dealing with devotees, like ridiculing or finding fault in others. those are certain things one should very much avoid. Otherwise, just for their own protection, Lord will take them out of that association just to protect them. So one should be very careful on how he basically uh, conducts himself as a devotee, right? He needs to have maintain good Vaishnava etiquette and also strong sadhana and prayerful mood towards Lord. Always pray to the Lord to protect from Maya, illusion, right? So with all this, will be protected, right? Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I need to take care of my daughter now. We'll end here.
Thanks, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all very much. And next week we won't have class. I mean, we can do like this after, but it's going to be tough because you can come to the temple if you are interested, and there will be more cars. You can join the cars and you can come back to temple and pick up your car and go. So that's one way you can participate in Sankirtan.
Prabhuji, so everybody who are interested in participating, they have to come to the temple only, or
You can come to the destination directly, and you can go back from there to your home. That is one way. Parking is free. The address given, I can send you the address. You can come to the address and directly come there and go back to your home directly from there. However long you can stay, all of that is possible. Other way is you can come to temple. From there, a lot of devotee cars will be there. You can get in the car and go with them, come back with them to temple, have prasadam and go back home. That's another way. Either way is fine.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
It's good to be with devotees. You can see so many devotees. Okay. If possible, if you are in Seattle area, you can take advantage of this program.
Yes, Prabhuji. Sure.
Again, if you have some other things, and it's okay if you can't attend, but try to attend. It's like Mahanagar Sankirtan happens once a year, where we invite everybody. That's the reason I'm stressing you all to join. So next week we'll not have class. That's the reason I continue to have this class even though it is late. So we'll take break next week and resume the week after. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Jai.